Hello and welcome to the Adventure Toolkit example reel number 2. My name is Glenn Storm and I'm from Hot Iron Productions. Today we're going to continue to look at tools from the Action folder in the Adventure Toolkit, starting with the Material Fader. The Material Fader fades materials on an object at runtime. It can fade color. It can also fade transparency if the material is set up to do so. For this example, the shader is set up, I've set it to fade the material on this sphere. The sphere has a special material that wasn't just made with a diffuse, but was made with transparent diffuse. That's the kind of shader it uses, so that it has alpha, and I can use this for the example that I need to do today. So let's look at the properties on our fader, or material fader object, or tool. First is fade object, and this is the object whose mesh renderer or skinned mesh renderer will fade. It's set to the sphere. Next is the fade targets. This is a number of targets that the material will fade to. So I'm not just going to change it once, I'm going to fade it multiple times. This time I'm going to change it 4 times. So the first field in each target is the target label. So you can, again, rename it from element 0 to something in English or whatever language you're using. You can select the material slot, and for this example I only have one material slot on our sphere. So I'm using slot 0. We can also, the next property is fade channel, and I can fade all of the channels. I can fade only the alpha, so it will disappear and reappear. I can fade the colors only and leave the alpha alone, or I can fade individual channels of the color, red, green, or blue. Next is fade color, and here's where we define the target color, or alpha, because both are represented here. And this comes up with our color tool. Next is fade delay, so we set a delay in seconds. This is set for a half-second delay before it begins our first fade. Fade duration, and that's over seconds. This is going to fade over the course of 1 second. And in case you don't want that to be a linear interpolation, there is also fade interpolation, so you can define it as something more fancy. So I'm going to fade this gray sphere to this teal looking color, and I'm only fading the colors. I'm going to wait half a second. I'm going to fade over the course of 1 second, and then the next target is going to fade alpha, and I'm going to fade that all the way out. So in other words, it's going to disappear. It's going to wait 1 second, and then it's going to fade out to transparent over the course of 1 second. The next target says it's going to fade them all back up, in other words the transparent and the colors, to a purple color with full alpha, and after waiting half a second it will do so over the course of 1 second. And the last target, I do want to fade only the colors, and I want it to fade to white again. So after our fade targets, there's activate on complete, so we can have this tool trigger another tool, and reset on complete, so we can use this tool over and over again. If checked again, this will deactivate the tool and get it set for reactivation. So let's hit play, and let's activate this tool to see it go through our 4 targets. It should go to a teal color, and then fade out completely, fade back up to a purple color, and then go back to white. Great. That's the material fader. Next is the material trigger. For this, we simply want to switch the material at runtime. So this is useful if you've got a prefab that you want to use over and over again, but you don't want it to look exactly the same. You've got separate materials set up for it, so you can vary the look of it with these material triggers. For this example, I only have one material to swap, so I'm going to, the first property is material swaps, and you can define a number of them, but I'm only doing one. And it's going to swap, the first property on the swap is swap label, so I can name it something other than element 0. The next one is swap object, so I can find which object is going to be swapped, and it's this cube. The next is swap all children, and if this is checked, it will not only switch the material on this cube, but it will switch it on all of the child objects of that cube. And it just so happens I have little cubes parented to this big cube. So I can demonstrate it. And then after that is swap material. This is which material we're going to swap this cube's material with. Right now it's default diffuse. We're going to swap it with this utility green color. And last in our swap property we have material slot. Which material slot are we going to use? And there's only one, so I'm going to use material slot 0. The only other property on this tool is reset on trigger, meaning it's going to deactivate this tool and get it ready to reactivate, so you can use it over and over again. Okay, so let's hit play, and this again happens immediately at runtime. It's meant to swap when this tool is activated. So let's activate the tool. There, our cube turned green. That's really all this is meant to do, so it worked. Let's go ahead and try our swap all children property and do it again. And now all the children are green as well. Okay, so again, this is useful if you've got something like prefabs and you want to modify the material at runtime without actually updating the prefab. You can do that for your scene or just for single one-off instances. That's the material trigger. Next, let's look at mover series. This is one of two mover tools. This is meant to move objects from one target to another, and then to another, and to another in sequence. This is opposed to our next one we're going to look at, mover single, which just goes to a single target. So mover series, in this example I've got something to move, that's this capsule, and it has the capsule graphics under this node, just for reasons which I'll make clear in a second. The mover series goes from one target to another, so I've got a number of target objects set up, and they're set in space. They also record rotational information and scale information, and yes, this mover will also change those qualities as well. Okay, so I'm going to look at the properties of the mover series. First is move object. Which game object reference are we going to move? And it's this one. Next, and we have the sequence of moves to do, and we have a move label. We have the move target, which reference is going to define the position, orientation, and scale. Next we have a move delay in seconds from the start of the tool until it begins the move. Next is the duration of the move in seconds. We have an ease in and ease out field. Ease out means that it will go from standing still to moving, and it will start slowly. Ease in is the opposite. It's going to move and then slow down before it reaches the endpoint. Use shortest rotation is the next property in this label, or in this move, I should say. That means that if you have something set to rotate at 350 degrees, it will move counterclockwise in that direction, as opposed to moving through all 350 degrees clockwise. You want to make sure that you've got this set if you don't want it to, if you want it to rotate the shortest path. And last is zero rotation Z. This means it will make sure that the Z rotation is always zeroed out, and this is useful for situations like camera movements, where you typically don't want roll on your camera while you're trying to make a move. If you have this unchecked and you're moving a camera, you will likely see the camera try to rotate in Z as it's moving from one target to another. Okay, so in this one we are moving from point to point to point to point and then back again, so that's 5. After our sequence, we have a property called smooth path. This, instead of moving linearly from one to the next, it will try to smooth it out and use these targets as suggestions of where to go without actually having to reach them. So, for example, instead of this capsule trying to go all the way to this sphere and then to that one, it will try to just gently glide around them. Okay. Use fixed update is the next property here, and again, this will be used when you need to work with rigid body physics objects and you want it to be in sync with those updates. Activate on complete is the next property, and at the end of this sequence you can have this tool trigger another tool by using this field. Last is reset on complete, and this will reset the sequence, reset the tool once the sequence is complete and get it ready to do again. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit play and activate our mover, and we can see our capsule going from one target to the next and then back again. Okay, that's the mover series. Last today is mover single. Again, this is going to move just to a single target. This is the object to move. The target is here, and we're going to use this mover single tool to do it. Very similar properties to the last one. So we have move object, move target, it's just a single target, move delay, move duration. We have our ease in and ease out checkboxes. We also have shortest rotation and zero rotation Z, which we just described. This has an extra property called continuous move. If this box is checked, it will not only go to the target, but it will then try to repeat the move over and over again. In this example, our target is off in space here, and as you'll see in the example, it will move to this target, okay, and then stop. But if we hit continuous move and try that again, what's going to happen is it's just going to say, oh, you want me to continually move there. Okay. One thing to note is that it's also doing the ease in and ease out. It is also doing the delay, so, and the duration. So it will repeat the move exactly as you've configured. Okay. Last two properties are used fix update. Again, this is used when you need it to sync with rigid body physics, and reset on complete, which means it's going to turn this tool off and have it ready to reactivate. Okay, that's all the time we have for in this video. Please stay tuned for the next one.